These are the video notes for the review of area part 1. So our first question is, what is area? What are they talking about when they say area? And what it is, it's a space inside a two-dimensional, and that's important because the space inside of a three-dimensional shape is volume. So it's a space inside of a two-dimensional shape, and it's measured in squares. So it's measured in squares like this. Okay, so let's start with the easiest one, which should be a rectangle. We'll do area of a rectangle. Okay, so let's say we have a rectangle that looks like this, and we have 3 units this way and 4 units this way. So if we split these into squares, we're going to have 3 like this, and then 4 like this. And if we count them, we're going to end up with 12. So the area of this rectangle would be 12 square units, and you write that like this. Okay, so if we look at what we did 4 times 3. So the area of a rectangle, the formula is the length times the width. And this is for a rectangle. Or a square. If it's a square though, it's just side times side because the sides are all the same. So the area is the length times the width. Which one is the length, which one is the width? It doesn't matter because you're multiplying. Okay, next let's look at the area of a triangle. And I'm going to start with the easiest one, which is a right triangle. So let's say you have a right triangle like this. And let's say this is 3 and this is 4. Now if I take that right triangle and I flip it over, let's pretend like we're just going to flip it over like this. I'm going to have another triangle. And what we did, we just did a reflection around the hypotenuse. We end up with another triangle like that. And this side would be 4 and this side would be 3. Okay, and that's exactly the same as that rectangle we just did with an area of 12. So since we have half of that, our area is going to be 6. The area for this is half of 12, or half of our rectangle before, which was length times width. So the formula for the triangle is 1/2, and instead of using base or length and width, they use base and height. So it's 1/2 times the base times the height. Okay, part C is going to be the area of a parallelogram. Parallelogram looks like this. You have 2 sides that are parallel, and you have 2 other sides that are parallel. Okay, and we'll go ahead and call this side B, and this will be side A. To do the area of a parallelogram, it's just the same as a rectangle, except for one thing. This side A is not necessarily the length or the width. We have to find the height. And to do that, you have to look for the 90-degree angle. And that'll give you the height. So that'll give you the height. And the area is equal to the base times the height. Just like the triangle, except you're not doing a half. So if we have a parallelogram like this, and we have a height here of 4, and the base is 6, it would be area is equal to 6 times 4, which is 24. Okay, and our last shape for today is a trapezoid. So we're going to do area of a trapezoid. And this is probably the hardest one to remember. Trapezoid looks something like this. You have two sides, not necessarily the same, and then you have like this, something like that. And we'll call this base 1, and this will be base 2. And somewhere, just like for the parallelogram, you have to have the height to do it. So somewhere there's going to be a 90-degree angle. You're going to look for that to give you the height. And what it is for the area, it's equal to base 1 plus base 2 divided by 2 times the height. So let's do one with some numbers in it. Okay, so my first base is 10. Alrighty, 10. My second base is 20. We'll do 10 plus 20 divided by 2, and my height is 5. So that's 30 divided by 2 times 5, which is 15, times 5, which is 75. Okay, let's do some examples. So here I have a shape on example 1. I'm looking at, I see I have two different sizes for bases, and the other two sides are not parallel. That makes this a trapezoid. That means I have to do my area formula for a trapezoid, which is base 1 plus base 2 divided by 2 times the height. Okay, I have a nice 90-degree angle over here. That means the 9 yards is the height. So base 1 would be 3.6, base 2 would be 11, and then the height would be 9. So we'll do 3.6 plus 11, we'll get 7. We're going to get 14.6, and then divide that by 2, makes 7.3, and then times 9 gives me 65.7, and yards, so it's square yards. Okay, example 2, we have a triangle. So the formula for the area of a triangle is 1/2 times the base times the height. And we're looking for the height. That means we're looking for the 90-degree angle. And the height's going to be the 9.8. So we're going to do 1/2 times 12 times 9.8. Half of 12 is 6, so we get 6 times 9.8. Which is 58.8. And it's yards again, so it's square yards. Okay, last example would be this shape. We have two pairs of sides are parallel, so this is a parallelogram. And the formula for a parallelogram is the same as a rectangle, except we're doing base times height instead of length times width. It really doesn't matter what you call them, except we have to find the height, which means we're looking for the 90-degree angle, which means we're going to do 5.7 times 3. Okay, so 5.7 times 3 is equal to 17.1. And this time it's in centimeters, so it's square centimeters.